There are moments in sports entertainment that define an era, a pinfall, a betrayal, a victory against all odds. And then, there are moments that tear the entire script apart. Moments that stop the heart of the industry, that make tens of thousands of people forget how to breathe. We thought we were just watching another premium live event. We thought we knew the story. We saw the champion, victorious, holding her title high. We saw her opponent, defeated, lamenting the loss. We thought the show was about to fade to black, the credits ready to roll on a predictable, satisfying night of action. We were wrong. So wrong. No one saw this coming. The arena lights didn't just dim, they snapped off. A sudden, plunging, mechanical darkness that felt different. This wasn't part of the show. The crowd's roar died instantly, replaced by a confused, nervous murmur. You could hear individual voices. What's going on? Is it a power failure? The referee in the ring, frozen. The champion, looking around, her celebration turning to visible confusion. This wasn't her pyro. This wasn't her moment. And in that darkness, that vacuum of sound and sight, a single electronic tone cut through the air. The crowd froze. They knew that sound. It was impossible, but they knew it. And then she walked out. A silhouette, bathed in a single ice-blue spotlight. The music swelled, a pounding, arrogant anthem that hadn't been heard in months. The arena didn't cheer. It detonated. It was a raw, primal explosion of disbelief. Tiffany STRATTON just made the loudest return in WWE history. And the look on everyone's faces, the champion, the commentators, the front row, it said it all. She's back, and she's here to take over again. It's the silence before the sound that tells the real story. When those lights clicked off, the entire production truck backstage went into a panic. They thought it was a technical failure. They thought the main feed was dead. Producers were screaming into headsets, cues were being missed, and for a handful of seconds, the machine was blind. But in the arena, it was a different kind of chaos. It was the shared, sudden anxiety of 20,000 people. That's a powerful, terrifying thing. It's a vacuum. And into that vacuum, her music didn't just play, it attacked. When the spotlight hit the top of the ramp, the sound that erupted wasn't just a cheer, it was a pressure release. It was thousands of people screaming, "I knew it," and "No way," all at the same time. And there she was, Tiffany STRATTON. She hadn't missed a step. If anything, she looked more like a star than when she left. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't running to the ring, high-fiving fans. She just stood there. She let the camera find her. She let the noise wash over her, a smirk slowly forming. This wasn't a comeback. This was a coronation. She knew, in that moment, that she owned every single person in that building. She owned the champion in the ring. She owned the commentators fumbling for words, and she owned the narrative. The story was no longer about the match that just happened. The story was, and always would be, about her. The air was electric, thick with the kind of spontaneous, unscripted drama that the industry chases, but so rarely finds. This wasn't just a return. It was a statement of power. Now look in the ring. Look past the smoke, past the new graphics on the giant screen. Look at the champion. She's holding the women's world title, the culmination of a lifelong dream. She just defended it against a warrior. She is by every metric the best in the world. And she looks small. The camera, the entire arena's attention, is no longer on her. She has become a background extra in her own main event. Her face tells a story in 3 acts. First, confusion. The lights. The music. She thinks perhaps it's a new challenger. Annoying, but manageable. Second, recognition. As the silhouette becomes clear, her eyes widen. The smile drops. It's not just a challenger, it's the challenger. It's the one person she knew, deep down, she would have to face, but hoped she wouldn't. Not like this. Third, and this is the most devastating, insignificance. Tiffany doesn't even look at her. Tiffany's gaze is fixed over her head at the WrestleMania sign hanging in the rafters. The champion, the woman holding the gold, is just a roadblock. She's part of the scenery. Tiffany finally starts to walk. It's not a walk, it's a stroll. Each step is measured, arrogant. The crowd is living and dying with every move. The commentators, finally finding their voices, are not just excited, they sound afraid. They are asking questions no one has the answers to. How? Why now? What does this mean? The champion grips her title, her knuckles white. She's trying to reclaim her ground. But it's too late. The ring isn't hers anymore. It hasn't been since the lights went out. When Tiffany STRATTON walked out, the real chaos wasn't in the arena. It was backstage, in the nerve center of the show known as the gorilla position. This is where the producers, the agents, and the highest-level executives watch the show on a wall of monitors. When the feed went dark, it was pure, unadulterated panic. Headsets were thrown. People were yelling about going to commercial or running a backup package. They were losing the broadcast. And then, her music hit. The yelling stopped. Instantly, a producer, headset half on, just stared at the main monitor. The lead writer looked at the general manager. The general manager looked at the owner. And in that exchange of glances, the truth was clear. Nobody knew. This wasn't a planned segment. This wasn't a surprise run-in rehearsed in the afternoon. This was real. Tiffany STRATTON had somehow, with impossible secrecy, orchestrated her own return. She had hijacked a billion-dollar broadcast. The other wrestlers, the ones who had just finished their matches or were waiting for theirs, crowded around the monitors. Towels draped over their necks, gear half off. The usual backstage chatter of "good match" and "see you at the hotel" was gone. It was replaced by a dead, cold silence. They weren't watching as colleagues. They were watching as competitors. They were watching their own spots on the card, their storylines, their paychecks, evaporate. Every step Tiffany took down that ramp was a step on their careers. This return wasn't just for the fans. It was a political move. A shot fired not just at the champion, but at the entire locker room and the office that ran it. The segment on TV ends. Tiffany poses, the crowd roars, and the show fades to black with her image burned into the screen. She turns, that same smirk on her face, and walks back up the ramp. The moment she passes through the curtain, the wall of sound from the arena is cut off, replaced by the sterile hum of backstage equipment. And a wall of silent faces. Producers, agents, and fellow wrestlers are just standing there, waiting. No one is clapping. No one is saying, "Welcome back." The air is thick with resentment and terrified curiosity. The champion is there. She'd thrown her belt down and stormed to the back, waiting for this very confrontation. She gets right in Tiffany's face. "What do you think you're doing? That was my time." Tiffany doesn't flinch. She doesn't raise her voice. She slowly, deliberately, looks the champion up and down. Then she looks past her, at the general manager, who is marching towards them, his face purple with rage. "You are not authorized," the GM yells. "You have no contract. That was—" Tiffany holds up a single hand, not in a talk-to-the-hand way, but in a stop way, and they stop. The champion, the GM, they just stop talking. Tiffany adjusts the strap of her top. She smooths her hair. She looks the GM dead in the eyes. "I do now," she says. She holds up her phone. An email is on the screen. A new contract, digitally signed just minutes before she walked out, sent directly from the TKO boardroom. She hadn't just bypassed the champion. She had bypassed all of middle management. She went straight to the top. This wasn't a return. It was a hostile takeover. Before Tiffany had even reached the bottom of the ramp, the internet was already broken. It wasn't just trending. It was the only trend. Think about the sheer volume. In the arena, 20,000 phones, held high, streaming live, their batteries draining from the effort. Every social media platform became a waterfall of the exact same clip, from 1,000 different angles. "She's back. No spercenting way. Tiffany STRATTON is here. The entire ecosystem of wrestling media, the podcasts, the news sites, the insiders, was rendered obsolete in an instant. All their predictions for the show, all their scoops and sources, were proven wrong. They had all been working with an old script. Tiffany had just written a new one, in real time, in front of the world. We visualize this not as text, but as a digital storm, a minimalist animation of a single node, Tiffany, sending out shockwaves that just consume every other topic. The main event of the show? Forgotten. The other title matches? Irrelevant. The financial machine kicked in. The company's digital team, recovering from the initial shock, went into overdrive. They cut the clip. They posted it. The view count hit 10 million in the first hour. Her old merchandise, which had been moved to the clearance section, sold out. Completely. New designs were being mocked up before she even got backstage. This is the new currency of fame. It's not just about winning matches. It's about controlling the conversation. And Tiffany STRATTON had just become the entire conversation. She was the stock price. She was the algorithm. Every big show is followed by a press conference. It's the official, sanitized end to the story. The champions, fresh from their victories, sit at a table, answer vetted questions, and put a corporate shine on the night's violence. But not tonight. The champion, the one whose moment was stolen, is sitting at the podium. The title is in front of her. She looks exhausted, not from her match, but from the emotion of the last 30 minutes. She forces a smile as the cameras flash. The first journalist raises their hand. Champion, a career-defining win tonight. But I have to ask, what are your thoughts on the return of Tiffany STRATTON? The champion's smile doesn't just fade, it collapses. The mask is off. She tries to recover. Competition is good. I welcome it. I'm a fighting champion, But she's lost the room. No one is listening. The next question and the next and the next are all the same. When did you know she was coming back? How does this affect your reign? Do you feel overshadowed? She is being publicly humiliated, forced to comment on the person who just rendered her irrelevant. Then, the general manager steps in. He looks flustered. He tries to take control. Tonight was about an amazing event, about all our superstars. A journalist cuts him off. Were you aware of this return? Did you sanction it? And we see it. The lie. He straightens his tie. Of course, we are always working on surprises for the WWE Universe. This was all part of the plan. But we, the audience, we know the truth. We saw him backstage. We saw the panic. He's scrambling. He's been made to look weak. And Tiffany? She's not even at the press conference. She doesn't need to be. She's probably already at her hotel. She made her statement. And now she's watching everyone else, from the champion to the GM, forced to react to it. The arena is dark again, but this time, it's the authentic darkness of an empty building. The crews are tearing down the set. The last of the fans are gone. We are in the champion's locker room. It's not the glorious, luxurious space you imagine. It's concrete walls, a steel bench, and the lingering smell of athletic tape. She's sitting alone. Her bag is half-packed. The women's world title is on the bench beside her. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, it doesn't look like a prize. It looks like a burden. She just had the match of her life. She won. She should be on top of the world. Instead, she's replaying the end of the night, the music, the roar, the smirk. She picks up her phone. It's flooded with messages. From her family, "You were amazing, so proud." From her friends, "Incredible match." But then she sees the other messages. From her peers, "Tough break. Keep your head up." They know. They know what really happened tonight. She wasn't just challenged, she was diminished. She was made to look like a placeholder, a paper champion just keeping the title warm for the real star. She looks at her reflection in the title's gold plating. She sees the doubt. She climbed the entire mountain, only to find someone else was already at the summit, waiting for her. The adrenaline is gone, replaced by a cold, hollowing dread. How can she compete with that? How can she fight a moment? Tiffany didn't just challenge her for the title, she challenged her for her spot. And the champion, alone in this empty room, isn't sure she can win. Now, we see Tiffany, a 5-star hotel suite, miles from the arena. The city skyline glitters outside her window. Her custom luggage is neatly arranged by the door. She's standing in front of a full-length mirror, still in her ring gear. The high of the crowd, the adrenaline of the takeover. It's wearing off, and the quiet is settling in. She just pulled off the impossible. She created a moment that will be replayed for decades. She has the entire industry in the palm of her hand. She should be celebrating, but she just stares. She's staring at the expectation, the sound of that crowd detonation. That is the new baseline. That's what they expect every week now. She can't just be good. She can't just be great. She has to be a phenomenon, every single time. The center of the universe. It's a great nickname, but it's also a prison. The pressure to live up to her own hype is immense. The return is easy. The noise is easy. It's the what next that's hard. She just made an enemy of the champion. She just made an enemy of the general manager. She just made enemies of the entire locker room. She is an island. And she knows it. She's not smiling anymore. The smirk is gone. We are seeing the person behind the persona. The one who knows she just wrote a check that she will have to spend the rest of her career trying to cash. The return was the shockwave. But the tsunami is still coming, and she has to be ready to ride it, or be drowned by it. We've been focused on the champion. We've been focused on Tiffany. But we missed someone. We missed the other person in the ring. Let's rewind. The champion had just won her match. But who did she beat? She beat a young, hungry challenger. Let's call her the Vindicator. For 8 minutes, the Vindicator had the match of her life. She pushed the champion to the limit, and even in defeat, she had won the crowd's respect. She was sitting in the corner clutching her ribs, tears of frustrated pride in her eyes. The crowd was chanting her name. Vindicator! This was her moment. The script for the show, the one in the producer's hands, said, after the match, the Vindicator gets the mic. She cuts the emotional promo. She thanks the fans. She turns face. This is the start of her journey. She was just about to be handed the microphone. She was about to have her career made. And then the lights went out. And then Tiffany's music hit. The camera never went back to her. The commentators never mentioned her gutsy performance again. She wasn't just overshadowed. She was erased. We see her, hours later, the last one in the locker room. She's packing her bag, slowly, methodically. She's not crying from sadness. Her eyes are red with a cold, focused rage. The biggest night of her life, the moment she worked for since she was a teenager, was stolen. It was used as the backdrop for someone else's comeback. She was collateral damage. And in that empty, silent room, a new story did begin. Not one of a fan-favorite face, but one of pure, unfiltered resentment. She will never forget this. She will never forgive. We thought we knew what we were watching. We thought this was a story about Tiffany STRATTON returning to reclaim the women's championship. We thought it was a simple, explosive return. But we were watching the wrong thing. Let's go back one more time. The final shot of the show. Tiffany is on the ramp, bathed in light. The champion is in the ring, holding her title. The crowd is on its feet. But look at Tiffany's eyes. She's not looking at the champion. She's not even looking at the WrestleMania sign. She's looking past the champion, into the corner. She's staring directly at the Vindicator, the one who was about to get the microphone, the one whose moment was just stolen. And as the show fades to black, we see it. The real look on Tiffany's face. It's not just a smirk of arrogance, it's a smile of satisfaction.